Everyone, I'm Sumukh Biram and welcome to Nyayartha. Today we are discussing a topic which has been doing the rounds and which has been spreading like wildfire. It's the case of Rakesh Rao versus State of Karnataka, which is an anti-state bail petition filed before the Honorable Karnataka High Court. This was an order presided by Justice Krishna S. Dikshit, and he made certain statements which offended a particular section of the society. He made, in this case, it was basically a complainant who filed a rape case against a man whom she had known and where they met in a hotel called as Indraprastha. And this person sedated her with drinks and he committed rape on her, according to her. And he filed her under she filed him under very stringent provisions, which is the 376, 420, and 506 IPC, and also under this section 66B of the IT Act. In order to take this forward, in order to look at what the expunge order says, to sum it up into contextually, Justice Krishna S. Dikshit gave an order which said that this woman who, after the act, which was the perpetration of rape, she was tired and she fell asleep. And according to him, it was unbecoming of a woman, and no Indian woman will behave in such manner after being ravished. So the words unbecoming and ravished are we seem to be offensive to certain sections of the society, and they believe the judge should not have made those statements. And this was about a week ago. Yesterday, the Honorable Karnataka High Court, through Justice Krishna S. Dikshit, expunged the order itself. He said that paragraph 4, where the statements was necessarily made, should be deleted and the rest of the order shall stay intact. In order to know more about this topic as well as the judicial ethics, we have Mr. Chandra Agarwal. Mr. Chandra Agarwal, welcome, sir. Mr. Chandra Agarwal. Yes, sir. Mr. Chandra Agarwal is the founding member of Save Indian Families Karnataka chapter, which is part of the wider ambit of Save Indian Families India chapter, which basically gives a helpline and a hotline for men in distress in order to seek legal counseling and guidance when they're perpetually sued under Domestic Violence Act and the rape provisions, as well as say sexual harassment and POXO provisions, and they're necessarily trying to prove that they're innocent, and in order to get a voice out there heard. So with that, we would like to hear the views of Mr. Chandra Agarwal.
Right. So, as I think you said that the judge has basically changed his order. He has expunged the part where he thought that he is offending somebody. So the first point that I would like to make that these judgments, right, when the judges give any kind of judgment, they are basically the reflection of where the society is evolving. So I would say that once the order is out and it is out in open for public view, it's an opinion which is already available to the people. Just by removing some part of the order from a speaking order or a final order, it does not really go away. And I do not somehow support this, that this order should be expunged. If there were any technical issues or a question of law which has to be revised, that should have been revised by a superior court. Or there are provisions to do revision in the same court for certain things, only certain things, not the arbitrary things. So that should have been done. And I would say that once a judgment is out, it is reflecting our society, because judiciary is the mirror of our society. The way society evolves, judiciary evolves that way. So in that way, I would think that the order which was passed by the learned judge was prim and proper, and it should have been kept the way it were, because it is actually reflecting what our society is going through and how our society actually is. Having said that, a judge to do these kind of expunge motions just based on some offense, or somebody is getting offended because of that order, I do not think that is proper. Offending somebody is not a problem. In for freedom of speech, offending somebody is very important. The intention is should be very clear. The intention of a free speech is that you would challenge my views and I would challenge your views, and I would keep my part of the opinion frankly, such that we both can reach to a conclusion which is closer to the truth and the contemporary truth. So I think whatever his opinion were, they hold the ground firmly right now also. I am somehow not very happy with any expunge being done. These kind of, let's say, order corrections are not only undermining the judge himself, but it is also undermining the right of freedom of speech for a judge who is doing whatever he is doing. So this is what I feel.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. To take that further with specific analysis to the legal context itself, a judgment or an order is usually expunged when the judge makes a mistake with either to fact, either to law. So the principle of per incuriam is here is not the law or the fact, but basically statements made which hurt particular society or section at large. How do you see the trends in the judicial society, and what is your opinion of the same?
Yeah,
Example, to
yeah.
give more context, in the Guwahati High Court recently, what happened was a woman was granted divorce from a man because she simply refused to wear the sindoor and the Mangal Sutra, and the court came to a conclusion was this is an integral part of Hindu custom. If you're ashamed of wearing that, you're technically a divorced person. So people came to a conclusion that look, you're the judge cannot make such insensitive statements. So what is your opinion of that?
No, judges, no, this, see, the thing is, see, now there is a recent trend, as you're saying, that people getting offended. I think society at large has to understand what is the meaning of being offended and what is the use of it. Offense is a tool. Offense is a tool to sensitize people on what the contemporary reality is from the point of view of that person. And when the judicial officer is passing any order, he has to be understood to be a learned judge who is giving the order based on what he deems fit. And he is a trained person, he had been experienced, and he knows the society. As I said earlier, judiciary is the mirror of society, it does not come out from anywhere. And if somebody is getting offended, let's say that this sindoor thing that you were saying, so somebody is getting offended that why if somebody is not wearing sindoor, then why it should be taken as such a grim thing that divorce can be granted based on that. That is what they are offended with, right? So what happens to the right of that guy, the husband who was getting offended that my legally wedded wife, who wedded him based on Hindu rituals, right, and agreed for those seven vachanas and sat phera and then the customs. So if she was legally married using the Hindu rites and rituals, she is bound by that. You cannot make a contract and go back in time and do some changes. So if I get married through a special marriage act, maybe I allow my wife not to wear sindoor because it's a special marriage act. But if you are getting married through Hindu rites and rituals, and it is basically going to be governed by Hindu marriage act, then you have to go by that contract. So if somebody is breaching the contract and that breach is being pointed out by a learned judge, then if anybody is getting offended by it, I would say that they are not thinking in the proper manner. What's happening is that they are entitled somehow in some time, let's say in coming last 5 to 7 years, that if there is anything that is not suiting to somebody ears, then you do a halla gulla, you take an offense of it and things like that. So they have to understand the meaning of offense is that you have to reach closer to the truth. And if the judge is making an offense to it, then you have to do a discussion. A discourse has to happen in society whether this was right or wrong, rather than going and interfering with the judiciary that you expunge this order, you change this word. Judges are not bound by what we like or not. They have to deliver justice. It's not always about pleasing somebody. It is actually not about pleasing somebody, because judgment cannot please everyone. Judgment has to do the justice, and that is what was served right. So this is what I think. This is what I think.
Thank you, sir. So to take this forward, so the bedrock of the Indian judiciary or legal system is that when an order is there, the parties or the public have, at large, have the opportunity to criticize or protest. Say, for example, let it be Sabrimala or something as simple as the recent bail order. Now, let's take this further. Obviously, when we look at it from evidentiary value or from a legal perspective, perhaps judge at first instance found that this could be a false case because the opinion of that should he use his language in a better manner.
I wouldn't say that, see, I wouldn't say that he has to use his language in a better manner. As I said earlier, language is a vehicle to express what you really think. But you have to, the judges also have responsibility. to express, use those words which they are really willing to express. So in my opinion, instead of saying the woman, if he would have said a person, this would have not been offending to anybody. Because if you say that it is unbecoming of somebody to be insensitive to someone, who will take offense on it? Even if somebody from, let's say, certain organization want to take an offense of it, they would not have a lacuna in this judgment. So yes, words can be chosen a bit, let's say, very carefully, such that they carry the meaning that the judge is actually intending to. In all my views, whatever I have been reading the judgment, I think the judge wanted to say that it is not humanly possible. But the moment he would use that word woman, everybody started pouncing on him. That is, I think, unbecoming of a society, not unbecoming of anybody else.
To talk about, say, what's in the law itself. So, for example, now we need to understand, I won't tell much into, say, sexual assault for men or, say, raping of men and etc. Now, most of these laws, including the Domestic Violence Act, are tilted to the protection of women, and that's explicitly stated in the Act as well.
I think the kind of sensitization training that happens to judicial officers these days, they are malafide, if I can use that word. They are pressurizing that you should always pass an order that cannot be used in a generic way for a gender. It can be used for a generic way for a gender, for against a man, then nobody makes any cry. But if it generically can be construed to be taken against the so-called fairer gender, then there is a much of halagulla. And I'm sure this is because there are I would say structured organizations, and they are doing the same. And then there would be people to, everybody has different opinions. So people are lodging their opinions. So I say sensitization is the very, let's say, very understatement to say the judiciary had been pressurized to do or behave in certain way. And I think the judicial activism will always conquer this. And our judges would conquer, I believe so, because our democracy and the way the judges are learning from the incidences here and there, that is not going to stay unacknowledged. So it would come time and again. I think these expunges and getting offended and things like that would happen, but eventually the reality would start reflecting in the judgments and the languages also. I would tell you, I remember a very old judgment, very, very old judgment. And I think it is the state of UP versus Dalbir Singh or Daljit Singh. It's about perjury. And the judge says that the ethos of Satya and Ahimsa, they were very important initially when our country was attaining freedom. But in due course, people have left everything about morality. And these ethos do not make any sense to them. And just to make some gains, some material gains, they are stooping to any low level. But it was aimed towards a woman. It was a woman who was doing all the lying on oath. But he used a very generic thing that people are going down. And he made clear that if somebody comes with unclean hands, saying lies, then they are not entitled for any relief, either interim or final. So there was no halagulla for that. So I would say that judges have to use the words carefully. They have to understand that the language is the carrier of the contemporary reality, and they have to write in such a fashion that it says the truth in a way that it does not get nobody gets a chance to create a lacuna out of it. I think none of these judgments had lacuna, but yes, they were used to create some halagulla and make some noise. That's about it. I think the spirit of the judgment stays, and once the truth had been said out, it cannot be taken back. So I think expunging is just a cosmetic work, but the real order was the first order.
Thank you, sir. That was a very valid statement regarding, say, when statements are not made in a generic manner, people look for loopholes and criticize and destroy the soul of the order itself. Now, to take that forward, now taking this order itself, there are two very divergent opinions. One says that, okay, look, whatever the judge said was absolutely right, and another one was like, look, this was very offensive, and this is not how a woman should be talked at. Now, the entire principle of judicial construction is that you need to harmoniously bring these two divergent opinions. Edwin, how do you exactly take into all the opinions and give the truth out?
See, I tend to agree to you only partially. If I have understood you correctly, you're saying the the aim of the judicial system or the judiciary is to bring a neutral order. I don't think I agree to it, let's say, completely. If you mean by neutral that an order which is not biased in any way, then it is okay. But the order can never be neutral. There are two parties or there are three parties.
By neutral, I mean say which is inherently vexatious towards one party. Because when you read the order
Ah,
itself, like you know what the ratio is, but at the same time, you know, the judge has particular say statements which is made leveled against a party, which is very direct. I'm talking about that way.
right. So see, when a judgment is passed, right, using the criminal law, the evidences are taken in consideration. The context of the evidence is taken in consideration. The law is taken in consideration. Any question of law is also taken in consideration, and then judgments are made. So if I go back to your question, what you were asking, that is there any way to make a neutral judgment? Yes, there are ways to make judgments which would let's say serve the justice without creating a lacuna. So I think I will have to probably repeat what I said earlier. So I would say that yes, judges have to be very concise in their words, and they have to express their opinion and their verdict in a way that it suits the, let's say, the decorum of justice, and also it actually carries out the justice. And see, one very important principle of justice, what I have understood from many judgments, is the justice should not only happen, the justice should also appear to be happening on a daily basis. You cannot have, let's say, harass somebody for 50 years and then give him a favorable judgment, right? You cannot pass interim orders which are allowing the person not even to survive and then give you a final order which is in his favor. Similarly, for the other way, you cannot give all the goodies in interim orders and then finally you hang them. So what happens is, whatever is your question of law, you take that holistically, you understand the issue. All the learned judges do that, and then you make a decision based on what are the social norms, what is the contract, what is the issue, what is the law, and what is permissible. Sometimes even the laws are biased. They are made with motives which are not always honest. There are inherently biased laws made. So in that case, it is also incumbent on the judiciary to do some kind of judicial activism by which people can understand that what goes beyond the democratic opinion. And by democratic opinion, I mean that if majority of people say that blood is white, it should not be construed white forever. The judicial activism should bring in that yes, there are white blood corpuscles, but do not say that blood is white. Blood is actually red. And I would welcome that kind of judicial activism from the judiciary in coming times.
Thanks a lot, sir. So coming to my final question, this is related to say what the youth talks about today. So for example, when you say talk about this order itself, majority weren't criticizing, looking or reading at the order. They usually go to social media pages, which they take something from the order, what they understand, they type it over there in a short format, and people reading that comment about that. So what is your opinion about say people? It's necessary that the citizens should be aware of what's happening in the courts, but at the same time, how much is it important for them to be aware about the wordings which is actually contained in the paper which was passed by the judge? So what should be the measures taken in order to say reduce the bridge between the misinformation caused?
See, this is a very fundamental problem of humankind. Humankind have this problem that we have a short span of attention, and many times we fall in the different, let's say, part of the bell curve of intelligence. So that what happens, right? Maybe this will sound offending to some people, but then we have to reach the truth, so we will discuss it anyway. So the thing is, not everybody could be legally aware. Some people think that justice is for welfare. That may not be true. Justice might be just for black and white. That might be true, right? Somebody goes by, Black's dictionary, somebody goes by their own dictionary, right? So that is why I say, so if people are making comments on Facebook, they do not have to be taken, seriously, because you do not know who is making comments and with what motivation, right? So we have to understand that Facebook or in the social media or even the papers, right? Newspapers, they say many things. It is an interpretation of one individual who has compiled that story, who had consulted few people, and then it is his daily delivery, right? The way, let's say, a programmer delivers program every day. So every day editor is delivering editorials. The journalists are delivering some cover stories. So their understanding is limited. So it should just be taken as a opinion. And in case of opinion, it is not that the democracy counts. In the case of opinion, what counts is the merit of the argument. You can have 1,000 stars, but that would not give you what you want from a sun or from a moon, right? So we have to understand that, okay, the noise should not be affecting anyone. We should try to inculcate in our society that we are able to distinguish between the noise and the matter. Once that occurs, then this will percolate even to our judiciary. And the unnecessary pressure that is being exerted on the judiciary to use the right words or to frame the right sentences and do the thing according to somebody's whims and fancy, that should go away, because let judiciary do their function. And again, I request the judges and judicial officers, the learned ones, to do some judicial activism and bring some order to the chaos in the biased lawmaking process. That would be very good. For example, some time back, I think the apex court had said that even the man who is affected by domestic violence should be able to file a case. So that should be taken as a law rather than what was passed in the hush hush in the parliament, where 80% of the people, 80% of the members were away, and the 20% who were remaining, with some motive, they got it passed for whatever reason. And most of the reasons are, it is vote politics. So they do it. So if they please the woman, they get 50% vote. If they please the woman, they get 25% of the male vote also. So this works very well. So activism is the place, judicial activism the place where they should go ahead with what they feel is right for the society, and what they feel is the right reflection of what the society is contemporarily today.
Thanks a lot, sir. To end this, there's a last question. Like, say, let's assume that you put yourself in the shoes of the judge for the moment, all right? So there's a twofold question. You talked about, say, people who give their opinions on Facebook need not be taken seriously because they need some form of merit in order to determine whether it's valid or not. One, if you're a judge, what would you consider this as a meritorious argument if it's a criticism? And two, which is, for example, if you're under fire for passing such an order, would you rather come out and clarify your intention in passing that order, or would you just go and heed to them and say, okay, look, I apologize for the statements, any inconveniences caused, I regret it. So, sorry, would you do that? So, what's your take on that?
Okay, my personal take is going to be a bit hard. I think my personal take is what I do in my real life, right? So I believe in one thing very, very aptly and very, very deeply, is that you cannot do your job if you are in pursuit of saving your job. You cannot do your job if you are in pursuit of getting a promotion in the job. So I know that essence of his answer to one of the questions from somebody was that, see, you should not have a past and you should not have a future. And once you do not have a past and you do not have a future, then you do the right thing. The meaning of it is that if you are thinking that what will happen to me in the future, will I get promoted? Will I be allowed to become a Rajya Sabha member, let's say? See, I am not saying anything for anybody particularly. I'm just giving you one example, which might not be applicable to many of them, right? So just take it in the spirit of what I'm saying. So if you do not plan something to happen to you later, or if you are not regretting something that you've done in the past, then at this point in time, you can do the justice the way it was designed. This is what I think. So if I were in the shoes of that judge, I would go back and think, have I done my job? Yes, I have done. Are people making noise? Yes. Is there a noise really meritorious? Probably no. Then I will just give it a shrug and leave it. And if I think, oh, I think I shouldn't have used that word woman and I should have said people, I would not expunge that order. I would go and overwrite the woman word to a person. And that's it. Done. The judicial activism done, the justice served, and I served the honor of the judicial system as well. That's about it.
Thanks a lot, sir. That was a very fair take. To put it or sum it up contextually, it's basically you're talking about forward-looking judges and not judges looking forward to something. So if you put it in that, way, that's what you believe an honest judge, according to you, should do. So with that, I think we can wind up, sir. That was a very enlightening session. Thank you for your cooperation and your views. We really appreciate it on behalf of Team Nyayartha. Thank you.
Thank you very much.